Hello everyone, it's technically John and welcome back. Now as always we are going to start with a quick revision of what we've taken so far. So we have learned about data types, about operators and about user input. We've also learned about comparison operators and conditional statements. We've learned about chained conditionals and nested if statements and about comments, for loops and while loops. And today we are going to learn about a new data type called lists. Now what are lists? A list is a data type used to store multiple items in one variable. So the same way we store in an integer, so this is the name of the variable, an integer, we can store in a list multiple items. So let's start by creating a list, and I am going to name it animals and store inside it multiple animals. So first we type the name of the variable as usual, and then an equal sign to assign to it the values we need to store, and then we use the square brackets. And inside those square brackets we write the elements we need to store. So first I am going to create a variable, a string called dog, and then separated by a comma, and then a cat, and then a comma. You can add the space or you cannot, it's personal preference, and a horse maybe. Now let's see what happens if we print our list, if we print animals. Let's run this, and of course I'm gonna name it meow, and in my desktop, and save. So now when we run this, it's going to print our list. Now in order to access single elements inside this list, we need to use something called an index or indices. And now in Python, indices start with 0. So let's say we want the first element, which is dog. We can print animals followed by square brackets, and inside those square brackets we type the number 0. This 0 hints at this element, at the first element. So if we run this, it is going to print dog. This is our list, and the first element is dog. So if we change this to 2, save and run, it's going to print horse. Now if we write here 1 and save, it's going to print cat. So basically this is a list that has the length of three elements, and this is the first element which has an index of 0, this is the second element which has an index of 1, and this is the third element which has the index of 2. Now if you want to print the length of animals, there is a reserved keyword in Python which is length, or len, L-E-N, and we write the name of the list, and it's 3 because we have 3 elements inside of our list. Also, we can change elements inside of this list. So let's say we want to change this cat here. We can say that animals followed by the index of the element, which is 1 in this case, is equal to let's say a squirrel. Now if we run this, nothing happened because we did not print anything, but if we print the list and run it, the list is now, the first element is dog, the second is squirrel because we changed that, and then the third is horse. Also, another thing about lists is that they can store different data types. So we can store here 5, we can store a boolean, so integers and booleans, we can store a float, and if we print this, if we print the list, save and run, it is going to work perfectly fine. Lists can also contain duplicate elements, which means that we can have another element here called dog, another element which is equal to 5, maybe a new element which is false, and then another horse maybe. Now if we print this again, if we run this again, it is going to print the whole list. Another thing about lists is, let me delete these, is that we can add elements to the list without actually changing it from here. So there is a keyword in Python which allows us to add an element to a list. So let's say we want to add another animal which is also a squirrel. We say that animals dot append, we open parentheses, and then we write the name of the element we want to add. So if we say that animals dot append and then a squirrel, and then we print our list, and then we save and run, what happens is it prints out our element with an added element. So let's say we want to add another element, so animals dot append let's say true, and also another element which is animals dot append maybe 5, and save and run. There is an error because I did not put a dot here. Okay, and it works perfectly fine. So here are our original elements, and then the squirrel, and then the true, and then the 5. So basically guys, today we learned about lists. We learned how to create a list, how to use indices using square brackets and adding or typing the index inside of them. We learned how to get the length of a list using the len method. We learned how to change elements inside of a list, and we learned that lists can have duplicate elements. And finally, we learned how to add elements to a list using the dot append method. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed and benefited from today's video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.